Hey, friendo, Steve here.
Hey, Larson.
And it's time for our SummerSlam star ratings. Of course, look, man, we're trying to play catch up on the 50, 60 years that Dave Meltzer has with his star ratings. But my hope, Larson, is at the end of the day, our star ratings will be held in the kind of esteem that Dave Meltzer has used exclusively to divide and as a source of toxicity, poisoning the well of the IWC, Larson.
You know what I'm hoping is that what Meltzer achieved in 50 years, we could achieve in 50 days. So let's see if we can do that.
Wow. I like it, man. I like it. Biblical ratios here.
Exactly. It's like that scene in Wrath of Khan. Hours or minutes and days or hours.
Days are now hours. Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and kick it off with the first match. Logan Paul defeating Ricochet in 18 minutes. Larson.
Oh, you got the times too? Look at you.
Right here, baby. I'm a professional. How else are we going to get it done in 50 days? How many stars did you give this match?
So I thought, as far as from a storytelling perspective, this might have been Logan Paul's best match. I know they went out to achieve the most viral match, at least on the card, if not WWE history. I don't know if they quite got there, but it was really good. It was a really good bout.
Yeah.
It was a good showing for Ricochet. Logan Paul had to cheat to win, doubling down on Logan Paul as heel. I thought this achieved a lot of things that were good for both competitors. I gave it 3 3/4 stars.
We're not far off. I gave it 3.5 stars for everything you just said. I feel like it probably would have gone. I'll put it this way. I feel like I would have given it 4 stars if the moments that they had planned out worked to perfection.
Yeah.
You know, they did the Spanish fly off the apron, and they didn't quite hit it, even though they probably hit it several times.
Oh, yeah.
In practice, where they stick the landing perfectly. I love the ambition, and I love that they obviously put a lot of work and effort into it. But it didn't quite get to that level where it was like, oh my God. I personally really like the cheat finish. I gave it 3.5 stars.
All right, next match. Let's see what we think about this one. If you've had any chance to reconsider your initial thoughts. Cody Rhodes defeated Brock Lesnar. What's the time on this one, Steve?
They 17 minutes and 35 seconds.
All right, what'd you give this one?
Yeah, so I reconsidered a lot on this one. I think I was sort of wrapped up in the entirety of how, I don't know, banal the feud was. It wasn't like, there was a lot of talking and a lot of just sort of segments that just sort of felt redundant. So trying to bring this, like thinking back on this match, overnight, I in the end, I really liked it. It was the best match that they've had. It was very physical. They beat the shit out of Cody. The reference to the Cena stuff I thought was good. And I'll be honest, like finally understanding Brock's motivation by the end, I appreciate, I sort of convinced myself of that last night as we were talking about it. I gave it 4 1/4, man.
Wow.
I thought this was a killer match. I really do. And I liked seeing a side of Brock Lesnar that was a little bit different than what we usually get. So yeah, 4 1/4 for me.
Let me ask you this. Did Triple H's revelation that Brock improvised the handshake and the hug at the end change your thoughts about it whatsoever?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. I was like, oh, that's actually really interesting, and that shows me that Brock's motivations were in the same place as seemingly his character motivations were, to see if Cody has what it takes to be the next
guy. Brock's character and Brock Lesnar are actually one and the same, Steve.
I doubt there's much difference.
I doubt there's much
difference. Yeah.
You know me, I don't really. Me and Cody's kind of melodramatic approach to storytelling don't exactly see eye to eye. Oh, sure,
yeah.
On a regular basis. I like sarcastic Cody. Fine. I think sarcastic Cody's great.
Right.
I agree this is the best match of the 3 they had. It was the one that relied least on kind of gimmicky stuff during the match to advance the story. I did appreciate the reference to John Cena's match against Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam a few years back. Whether that was intentional or not, I kind of feel like it was. Something about the story, even, after we talked about it last night, still hasn't really clicked in totality for me. There still feel like there's a missing element in terms of what they did over the course of this feud. So it just hasn't exactly resonated with me. I probably gave this too few stars. I gave it 3. It was fine.
Wow.
It was fine.
Poor Cody, man. He can. Hey, how much? What would you give this? Just real quick. Cody versus Andrade, the flaming table spot. Well, how many stars do you give that?
Oh, I'd have to watch that again.
Unimpressed. Yeah, no,
it was
that's
fine. It was physical.
Yeah.
Everything he said about it was right.
Yeah.
I just feel like from a story perspective, this feud never clicked with me.
No,
Never.
I look, man, I could totally see your point of view. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of people out there who are like, what, Steve's just slurping on Cody at 4 1/4. You're crazy. But I don't know, man. I look at Cody afterwards. I'm like, God damn it, man. He got beat to hell.
He did get beat.
And Brock Lesnar, he's an impressive specimen, so I couldn't give it anything less than 4. Let's move on now to the 25-man Slim Jim SummerSlam Battle Royal. I don't know if it was Rocket Mortgage or this that put WWE into, like, you know, the prime money-making sponsorship stuff.
Don't forget C4.
Oh, and C4. Yeah, this was a heavily... You know, man, honestly, that stuff is such background to me. It doesn't bother me at all. Go get your money, WWE.
Not really.
Of course, LA Knight won this by last eliminating Sheamus. It was a 12-minute battle royal. Omos made his big return. Larson, how many stars did you give this?
You know, it was a short battle royal. It was a perfectly fine battle royal, but I never really felt like it went anywhere further than perfectly fine battle royal. It was a match that existed to earn WWE a massive paycheck and get LA Knight a win on a pay-per-view card.
Right, correct. All that is correct.
Beyond that, it didn't serve much purpose in terms of advancing actual stories.
No.
So I gave it 2 stars. It was fine. I don't think it ever really elevated above fine.
Wow. No, I am shocked because I also gave it 2 stars. That's exactly what I have as well.
Yeah.
There was nothing new here. This served exclusively to give me, honestly, like, I popped the crowd. That's great, but it was a meaningless win for LA Knight. I guess it sort of tells us maybe more what WWE thinks about LA Knight than anything else.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, Omos comes in, and guess what? You know they're going to do the standard big man spot. Maybe if they had done something interesting with that, I would have elevated this a bit more. Standard battle royal tropes, like, throughout.
Yeah.
So, yeah, not going to give this anything more than 2 stars.
Nope.
Man.
Next up, MMA rules match between Shayna Baszler in a winning effort against Ronda Rousey. Won about 7.5 minutes. Steve, what'd you give this one?
Man, it breaks my heart. It really does. Because I'm going to give this fewer stars than I was hoping the match would warrant. Because, you know, the crowd was dead for this match. They tried something, not necessarily new, but they tried something that really isn't done very often. And throughout the history of WWE, when you try to shoehorn MMA stuff into wrestling, for me personally, it just never works. Whether it's, you know, the Lion's Den, which was like probably the best, or the Fight Pit was probably the best example of it. And I don't even like the Fight Pit. I don't think any of those matches were particularly good either. They only gave this 3 weeks of a build and 7.5 minutes for a match. That's not a lot of time to build up anything for this. And I appreciate what they wanted to do in getting Shayna Baszler over to that next level. I gave this match 2.5 stars because they lost. The crowd was lost. And I feel like these are 2 people. These are 2 pro wrestlers who could have got the crowd if given enough time and for the match and the build itself. But, like, you know, it didn't work. And there were a couple spots that I thought were effective in terms of, like, oh, we had some really flush looking. I thought the entire thing was going to be like, oh my God, this is like a real fight. They're really beating each other up.
Yeah.
And it just didn't come off that way. You know, A for effort maybe, but 2.5 stars for me.
Yeah, I gave it 2.5 as well. Of all of these kind of MMA themed pro wrestling matches, in some respects, this was the most convincing in terms of me suspending my disbelief and thinking, okay, they are actually trying to fight and not wrestle. I mean, there was a couple strikes that looked like it hit flush. There's a bit where Shayna was really selling arm. The trainers came and looked at her. It was a physical bout. You could feel the physicality of it.
Yeah.
But it's a hard kind of amalgam to construct of bringing MMA shoot fight rules and make it convincing into the world of pro wrestling, which is choreographed fights.
Yeah, right.
And it's a hard kind of mix to get right, and I don't know if any attempt to get that mix right has actually totally landed. But, you know, credit for giving it a try, and you know, Shayna won in convincing fashion, and it's a huge win for her.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's the first step in more meaningful things for Shayna Baszler as the singles competitors, but 2.5 stars.
Yeah. Next up, we had the Intercontinental Championship on the line. Gunther versus Drew McIntyre. This match lasted 13 minutes and 40 seconds. Larson, how many stars did you give it?
So it was, again, another match that was really physical, and I appreciated that. You know, my expectations, or my hopes, I should say, my hopes is this would be Drew's opportunity to do what Sheamus did at Clash of the Castle last year, which was have a match of the year contender with Gunther. And I never felt like during this match it ever got to that point. It never reached that intensity. Yeah. There was never the urgency from Drew like Sheamus had. I just felt like it never really hit those heights. Maybe it's an unfair expectation or unfair hope, but given Drew's abilities as a wrestler, and considering Gunther's one of the best wrestlers in the whole world, I had high hopes for this match.
Oh yeah, big time.
It wasn't bad. It was more than serviceable, but I didn't really feel like it ever really got into the realm of great.
Yeah, right.
I gave it 3.5 stars.
That's exactly what I gave it as well. Yeah, and I echo every sentiment that you have. It never, and honestly, like, again, you know, similar to the Shayna Ronda thing, you know, Drew wasn't there for the go home. You got, you know, you have all these characters. One thing that we've talked about when it comes to sort of the last year of WWE and Triple H era is that so many of the characters really know who they are. Drew McIntyre right now, I feel like he has no idea like what he's supposed to be doing. I don't know if WWE has any idea what he's supposed to be doing. He's like, you know, he took that long period of time off, and he came back, and you think that, oh, he's back, it's a big deal. And this feud had more to do with like Matt Riddle than it did Drew McIntyre. And again, technically speaking, you know, these guys delivered a match that, you know, oh wow, a lot of chops and big men slapping meat moments. But like it never really got elevated over that in terms of the drama of the match. I appreciate Gunther had to bust out every finish he had to beat Drew McIntyre, but you know that even that really couldn't elevate it. I don't think Drew was really invested in this match all that much. So yeah, 3.5 as well.
Next up, we got Seth Rollins defeating Finn Balor to successfully defend the World Heavyweight Championship in 18 minutes and 30 seconds. Steve, what'd you give this one?
So I'm going to do a little bit of math here. I thought the actual meat of the match warranted a 4-star review. I thought the finish was such a fucking turd that warranted a 2-star review. I met in the middle. I went 3 stars.
Wow.
That finish was unforgivable, man. You sucked the entire life of the out of that arena, that stadium rather.
Yeah.
And you make Finn Balor look like an absolute idiot. They put on the meat of the match. I thought was really, really good. But you have to at least come close to sticking the landing.
Yeah.
And that landing was terrible. And I'm not just saying that because I wanted Finn to win the title, because I did, clearly. But when you bumble that finish so much, it's unforgivable. I'm sorry. Yeah, I gave this match 3 stars.
I agree with you that I thought it was fantastic until they kind of missed the finish. I mean, even if you're going to do a situation where Seth wins, come up with a more creative way of doing it, you know?
Yeah, right, yeah.
That being said, I gave it 3.5 stars because I think the meat of the match, 95% of it was really, really good. Exceptional.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
You know, if they'd stuck the landing, this would be 4.25 star territory, I feel like.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Fantastic bout, especially the last third of it. You know, and it's a bummer that the finish was just kind of a repeat in a lot of ways of what happened during at the end of Seth and Finn's first bout, and it absolutely lost the crowd, which was a bummer because the next bout was absolutely fantastic.
Oh man, yeah, it was terrific. Yeah.
So 3.5 for that one. Let's move on to the next one for the women's WWE Women's Championship. You had Asuka defending against Bianca. Charlotte. Bianca gets the win in 20 minutes and 45 seconds. We could talk about this match and Io's cash-in kind of simultaneously.
Yeah, sure.
If you'd like.
Yeah.
So Steve, what do you give it?
Man, this was just really, really terrific stuff. Hard to, man. Yeah, I gave it 4.5 stars. I thought this match was absolutely terrific. Can't say anything really bad about it. Just the spots were creative. Bianca selling knee was outstanding. You have that awesome moment in the end when Io Sky cashes in. You know, the ring gear looked great. Yeah, I got nothing bad to say about this. I gave it 4.5 stars.
Yeah, I'm with you there. 4.5 stars. I feel like this could have been higher if the story leading into it just had a little more depth to it.
That could be, yeah.
It was the story basically was, well, Charlotte shows up, wants a title shot, that upsets Bianca. She wants a title shot too, and this becomes a triple threat match.
Yeah, right.
And I'm guessing, this is all laying the groundwork for potentially a character shift for Bianca.
Yeah.
Whether it's a heel turn, something. If now after Io has the title, if again she goes up to Adam Pearce and wants a rematch, well, Asuka somehow cuts in front of her in line and gets the first match against Io. Well, that's going to upset Bianca again.
Yeah,
I would not be surprised if that happens. Cash in was fantastic. 4.5 is what I got right now.
Yeah, same, absolutely. Yeah, I think you're right. The build could have used a little bit more. A couple more twists and turns. It was a little too simple, I mean, the whole idea that, is sort of, Charlotte equals title. And I do feel like they need to move a little bit more. They got to push a little bit more story in there beyond Charlotte is title. Because they're getting with Bianca, but they're starting to get to Bianca is title.
Yeah.
and so I do feel like you got to give us a couple more story beats here and there,
Yeah. Give us more depth, a little bit more depth.
Yeah. I mean, there was plenty of stuff that I did like about the build. But, yeah, I do feel like I need a little bit more, rev it up a little bit more. But, man, what a creative match this was.
Oh, match was tons of fun. No complaints about the match itself whatsoever.
Yeah. Let's move on now to the main event. Tribal Combat, Roman Reigns versus Jey-USO. So, dude, this was like I think a 34-minute match. I don't have it here for
36:05.
36:05. Thank you. So you and I in the build had, or during the weeks leading up to it, had read online that there was this idea that people in the bloodline couldn't interfere, and so I was like, wait a second. I came across a tweet that allegedly was a screenshot from WWE's preview of this match that said that nobody can and it didn't specify the bloodline stuff. It said nobody can interfere during the match, and I was like, okay, wait a second, time to do a little bit of research. And sure enough, bodyslam.net, this was updated on August 4th, so 2 days ago. It says, when Tribal Combat was first announced, many fans took this to mean that there would be no interference from blood relatives. This was not officially addressed on WWE TV, so many fans thought the idea was not an actual stipulation. That's just mirroring what Going in Raw had been talking about.
Yeah.
It says, however, now WWE have confirmed the ruling on their website in a preview of Jey-USO versus Roman Reigns, and this is what that preview said. The match was set on the July 21st, 2023 episode of SmackDown. The match was set with Reigns appearing to also put his tribal chiefdom on the line as well. It's Tribal Combat where anything goes, but no one can interfere until Jey and Roman's match is over. No disqualification, no count out. The only way to win is by pinfall or submission. WWE's own website said nobody can interfere. And yet this match was all solo interference.
Yeah.
And then Jimmy interference.
Yeah.
So they betrayed their own rules.
Yeah.
And the match, in my opinion, suffered from it.
Oh, absolutely.
You can't give us 36 minutes and 5 seconds and then not give us what Bloodline is supposed to do, and that's give us the compelling final third.
Yep.
It was just 36 minutes of milling about. Look, I know there was some cool spots with the table and going to the outside and stuff, and Greg Miller's out there screaming his head off. They did stuff.
Yeah.
But it's 36 minutes of stuff without the shit that we come to a Bloodline match for, and that's the compelling character stuff. We called the Jimmy Uso stuff a mile away, and even that wasn't all that compelling.
No.
I gave it 2 stars.
Wow.
36 minutes of my life was spent on this match, which served to do nothing but the obvious. So I gave it 2 stars. Yeah.
I agree with everything you said. Plus, I don't necessarily feel like, even if you set aside the idea that no one's supposed to interfere, I don't really feel like they took advantage of what they could have done within the stipulation they presented.
Yeah. Yeah.
As far as I know, there's kendo sticks and chairs. There's a couple table spots. I get that. I'm not necessarily talking about, like the no DQ aspect of it. I just don't feel like during the course of the match itself, they really emphasized, in terms of their performance, what exactly was on the line.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, like after the moment at the beginning of the match where Roman tells Jay, if you win, I'm going to give the Ula follow to you. We don't see any reference to that after that. Like,
right. Yeah.
You know, do we get why don't we get a moment where Jay has the upper hand and looks over at Heyman holding the Ula follow and is like, all right, this is going to be mine.
Yeah, the stakes needed to be present the entire time. Yeah.
I mean, like, we're aware of them, but find a way to intertwine the stakes of the match into the story being told. It felt like once the bell rang, it was just, all right, we're going to fight for 36 minutes. We're going to go out for 30 minutes. We're going to go out to the crowd, and Solo's going to be a 2-on-1 match from that point on.
Right, yeah.
And then we're going to have a twist at the end that probably about half of our fan base is going to be disappointed by. And it doesn't, you know, it's a problem that they've raised the bar so high with these story beats in these matches that constantly propel the story forward. And this just didn't feel like that.
No, it really didn't.
You know, from a performance standpoint, I thought in a lot of ways it was fine. You know, Jay's really good at bringing intensity. Roman's good interacting with the crowd. I was never necessarily bored. I just didn't feel like it really elevated beyond just a good match.
Dude,
and the ingredients were there for it to be more than a good match. They could looked into the tension between Solo and Roman a lot more.
Right. Yeah.
You know, if somehow that tension played into the finish of the match, that might have been more rewarding from the viewer standpoint.
Yeah.
That feels like it's really advancing story within the bloodline. Now it feels like Jay and Jimmy are going to be involved, which is it's going to be good. I'm not saying this. I'm not disappointed that Jay and Jimmy get a feud and they're going to put us in an awesome match.
I think there's good stuff that can come out of this.
Totally,
so how many stars do you give it?
This is probably too many. I gave it 3.
Yeah.
I didn't think it sucked.
No, I think that's fine. I think that, you know, it's going to be interesting to see what people say in the comments below. Be sure to leave your comments because, you know, look, man, straight up, this entire time I've been giving bloodline matches really, really high marks, 5 stars, 5.5 stars, 4.5 stars, because I think that the drama inherent in them really deserved it. This felt more like August 1 warning, you know, identity revealed Jimmy Uso, and it's like, you know, yes, there is. What does this mean? What is his motivation? I am interested to find out what happens next. But goddamn, man, 36 minutes is a long time to get to this point. And on top of that, to like go against your own, like, you know, nebulous stipulation anyways, like it was never really said on TV, but then it was said on the website. So like, should we have expected it? So I don't know, man. I thought that they did not stick the landing on this one. No. And I hope they're able to course correct with the next match, because obviously they're going to do Jimmy versus Jay, you know, next. And I don't know like where Roman exactly goes from here.
You know, I wonder if they had approached Jimmy's interference a little differently. Say like he gets involved and he hits the super kick on Solo or something. You think he's there to help Jay.
Right, yeah.
And then it turns out he's not. And it's not so much that Jimmy is rejoining Bloodline. It's like strictly he's got an issue with Jay.
Yeah. You
know, if they had maybe delineated what the beef is then and there, maybe that would have been more clear, more satisfying from a viewer's perspective.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. Yeah. But no, I am still very interested in Bloodline stuff. I hope that they're not getting to territory where maybe they're taking it for granted or they're phoning it in, and they just, you know, I don't know. I am still interested, but yeah, in terms of this one, not the best Bloodline match there is.
No, definitely not.
Yeah. Anyways, let us know what you guys think in the comments below. Do us a huge favor. Hit that thumbs up. Hit that like button. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate it. Check out one of these videos over here. We'll see you around.
Goodbye.